Hello, and welcome to another video where we talk about the best mechanics in RPGs. Today we're talking about Nimble, not 5e, 2. Guess that makes sense. Nimble was originally a 5e homebrew that then eventually got turned into its own RPG. This is many people's contender for a D&D killer, so does it hold up? And are the mechanics good? Let's find out. But first, like, comment, subscribe. Join us on Patreon or become a YouTube member if you want to see more of these more often. And also, it helps us out, because maybe then we can get the box. Evan, we would have liked the box. So the first thing I want to talk about is its initiative system. It does a thing that I love. There is no initiative, technically. When combat first starts in Nimble, the heroes act first, and anyone who's ready on the hero team can just do what they want to do. That means from round to round, the initiative order can switch up. It's not stagnant, it's not stale, it's not locked into one place. But maybe you enjoy rolling for initiative. Well, don't worry. You still technically do. See, you'll roll a d20 and add your initiative modifier. What this determines is not what order you go in, but rather how many actions you have in the first turn. If you roll a single digit number or a 1 to 9, you get 1 action. 2-digit numbers, 10 to 19, you get 2 actions. And of course, if you roll a 20 or higher, you get all 3 of your normal actions for the first round. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not entirely sure why we roll for actions. I think we've determined that that's not a good thing. It's quite possible people enjoy that spontaneity. It's also possible because the designer recognized that heroes can completely destroy a boss in 1 turn, and at least this gives you 2 turns of play. I think this is one of those times where the no initiative versus rolling for initiative crowd, finding a middle ground, I'm not sure if it works, but let me know in the comments if you like it. Now, of course, let's go to the actions really quick. Of course, you can attack, and we'll get into that in a moment, but there's one action that I think is really interesting, the assess action. When you choose to assess, you can ask the GM one question about the situation you're in. You can create an opening that helps out the next damage roll on that monster. Or you can anticipate danger, which makes the next damage roll against you not hurt as much. I'm a fan of unique actions in games. I'm a fan of being able to allow players to do some creative stuff. This does both of those things. No notes, A+. But why would you want to assess when you can attack 3 times? Yeah, 3. Well, let's go over the attack action first. First thing to note, you do not roll to attack. So all the haters of Draw Steel talking about how roll to attack isn't going anywhere. It's gone. It'll never come back. Instead, you roll for damage. Your weapon will determine the damage die associated with it, and simply roll that die and add your modifier. Now, unlike Draw Steel, where you can never miss, you can still miss in Nimble. If you roll a 1 on your damage die, that's it. You're done. You missed. Game over. But the good news is, if you roll the max number on your damage die, it explodes and you get to roll another die, dealing another damage with the potential of exploding again. Frank, that sounds amazing. Why would you ever use your actions on anything else? Because there's a caveat. Each time you attack, you must roll an additional damage die and take the lower one. That means if you use all 3 of your actions to attack, you're rolling 3 damage dice and taking the worst one of them. And as we already talked about, assess is a great action. Use it, do it, it's awesome. Now, really quickly, we're going to talk about any weapons that let you roll 2 dice, like 2d6. They do an interesting resolution, and I would love to see what designers think about this. You roll 2 dice, and whichever dice lands leftmost is your primary die. I don't think I've seen mechanics around the placement of where the dice land. Probably because you could try to game that a little bit with dexterity. We already have games like Dread that is literally all dexterity, so I don't know if I'm opposed to that. Let me know. Are you? The game also allows you to have a bunch of reactions, if you want. See, you don't get just 1 reaction. You technically have up to 3. The downside is, every time you use a reaction, you have 1 less action on the next turn. This allows for a fun risk-reward mechanic. Are you going to try to dodge the next attack, even though that means you might not be able to retaliate back? Are you going to interpose so that you take the damage instead of an ally who's about to go down? Perhaps you just want to help, because that's the other thing you can do, you can help. Or look for an opportunity. You get 4 possible things, but only 3 reactions at most, if you don't want to do something on your next turn. But let's talk about dying really quick, because I kind of like how it does its dying systems. See, in Dungeons & Dragons, when you hit 0 hit points, you're in this weird state of death and rolling to see what happens, but the second you get healed, all of that goes away. In Nimble, if you go down to 0, you're not out of the fray. Instead, you take 1 wound. While in the dying condition, you can only do 1 action, but you still get to act, which is a good thing. You can use that action to run away, to get yourself healed, to do a variety of things that can help out you and your party. However, while in the dying condition, if you continue to take any more hits, you take another wound. If you take 6 wounds, you're dead. Now, while this is basically just two different versions of hit points, and Peter might not be a fan of the fact that you don't describe the wounds, I think it's still a very fascinating system, and I'm curious to see what you all think. But what's also more important is how you heal. In order to heal properly, you must take a long, safe rest. That means you have to be in a safe environment that's friendly to you, that's not going to have any danger happen upon you. Once you take that long, safe rest, you heal all your hit points, regain all your resources, and heal one wound. That's right, wounds still stick around for a long time in Nimble, and you'll have to deal with the consequences of it. Finally, last thing I want to talk about, because I like when games do this. Insight. I don't like when games do insight. It's the thing that they do with the insight. Give me a second. So normal insight checks can be used to gauge whether an enemy is lying to you, find out some more interesting information that might not be obvious upon first glance. What's nice is, Nimble adds in an extra detail to the insight check. Let's say you run into a band of orcs, and you had your bow of orc slaying back at the cabin. You can make an insight check, and retroactively add that thing that you didn't have. It's the idea that your character had enough foreknowledge and insight to be able to properly pack for this situation. Give more flashback-like mechanics, people. They're really cool. Do it. Don't give me this thing of like, well, I don't want to add flashbacks. Nimble just did that in a really unique way. Now you may be saying, is that it, Frank? That seems like all the mechanics covered. Yes! Nimble is a small book, people. This is it. This is 3 books. That's it. And honestly, one of them's a Games Master's Guide, so we can just... If you're looking for a rules-light version of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, I can't think of any other game besides Nimble. Thank you guys for watching. Please let me know in the comments, what other game should I cover next? I have Vagabond that I could talk about. We got Lancer. We got classics like Call of Cthulhu. We can do weird ones that you've never heard of before, like Triangle Agency. Let me know down below which ones you want to see covered. And like I said before, if you want to see more of these kinds of videos, please join us on Patreon, become a YouTube member. If we can get enough people supporting us financially, we can start making these bi-weekly and then eventually weekly. And if you were curious what I meant by flashback mechanics, go check out the last video where the first mechanic I talk about is indeed flashbacks.